Early education requires bridging the gap between an instructor's complex concepts and a young brain that is still developing its processing capabilities. Throughout history, the narrative structure has served as the primary tool to cross this developmental divide. Listening to a story forces a child to acquire new vocabulary and parse complex sentence structures, all while using their imagination to visualize events they cannot immediately see. These narrative experiences form the structural framework for early human learning. Measured, we can observe this impact at the physiological level through neural activation. Rote memorization activates isolated neural clusters. In contrast, a story lights up multiple pathways simultaneously, engaging auditory, visual, and emotional centers. These benefits diminish with simple recitation from a page, but the neurological response intensifies when a teacher interacts, asking questions and pausing for reflection. These deliberate, interactive techniques trigger the high-level cognitive engagement necessary for development. In a classroom setting, the educator facilitates a sensory experience rather than just reading text aloud. This starts with selection. The plot and language must align with the audience's developmental stage to ensure baseline comprehension. Once the story begins, the teacher uses voice modulation, shifting tones, and exaggerated facial expressions to transform static characters into memorable figures. Strategically placed pauses and mid-story questions prevent passive listening, forcing students to predict outcomes and engage with the plot. Tangible aids like puppets or flashcards ground abstract ideas, giving children a physical reference point for the concepts being introduced. The process concludes with story retelling, where children use their own words to summarize the narrative, cementing the sequence in their long-term memory. Layering these specific methods transitions a lesson from a passive observation into an active cognitive exercise. These techniques apply directly to the curriculum. Narrative characters can model social skills like empathy and cooperation through their choices and relationships. Quantitative concepts, such as counting or sequencing, become intuitive when they are embedded within a plotline rather than taught through rote repetition. Stories also provide a controlled environment for children to identify and process complex emotions by observing them in a fictional context. This learning process fails if an educator chooses overly complex structures that lead to cognitive overload. Effectiveness also drops when a story is read without a clear educational target, leaving the child with no central lesson to retain. Information overload poses a similar risk. Trying to teach too many lessons in one session often results in a child retaining none of them. Precision is the requirement. Every story must be executed with a single, intentional goal to be successful. The core psychology of the narrative is ancient, but the implementation tools are evolving. The story mapping framework provides a method for visually organizing settings, conflicts, and resolutions to ensure the narrative remains focused. Digital formats now blend traditional physical methods with interactive media to maintain engagement in modern learning environments. Customized educational narratives can now be instantly generated using AI to address specific classroom needs or behavioral goals. These advancements scale the human facilitator's ability to provide a targeted and personalized learning experience. The educator's role in the early childhood classroom involves shaping the child's foundational understanding of the world. Interactive storytelling is the most effective method for developing spoken language, building emotional intelligence, and cognitive retention. While standard instructions are often forgotten by the end of the day, a well-facilitated story creates a lasting mental framework for information. By mastering these techniques, an educator provides the child with the cognitive scaffolding they will use to organize all future knowledge.